Okay, so advertising and sales. And again, you think about the old school in your mind about advertising and sales. We're talking about tying that into our industry and how that works. So still very important. And we'll kind of touch on that a little bit. So, if we do an ad that's generic, that's trying to reach a broader audience, then we're always going to have that issue of it feeling impersonal. So, again, that is a way. How can we personalize this ad? How can we make it stand out? Co-opting it with somebody to make it cheaper. Again, it's only as good as what you put into it and the message back to communication, again, that we're trying to get out of the ad itself. So that's very important that we realize that. Talk about the objectives in a little bit, and you can see this nice little pie chart here, if you will, this big wheel, and how that works. So again, we always go back to what the campaign's going to entail and how effective or ineffective it's going to be. You can see a schedule here, for how somebody wants to do this. So again, what do we want to do? Again, results, measurable, achievable results. How effective is something? So, birthday of the month letters. I think we see a lot of that now with, if you go to a place and you have dinner and they say, would you like to leave your email and your birth date, and then you get it more on social media. But you can still get it, I guess. We do get some stuff still in the mail about birthdays and special offers from various places, so it's still out there. How much is that going to cost, and how effective is that going to be? Who's going to take advantage of that, right? So like we said, SMART objectives, the tools, and then how we measure and act upon those tools based upon what's going to happen. So, in the case of Jerry here in the free dessert, presenting the coupon. And it shows the results by people presenting the coupon, right? So what is the effectiveness of the campaign? That's pretty concrete and pretty quantifiable, that you can literally say, I mailed these out, guest had to bring them in, and here's the result of what I did. We do see a lot of personal selling. People at the front desk upsell the room. Someone comes in, well, they already have the reservation, they have room. Did you try to upsell them to a suite? Did you try to do this? Did you try to add that? Things like that. So, that's something that we can do that isn't on, a billboard or a newspaper ad. It's training and coaching our staff to say, do you want to increase this, right? So again, sales and hotel sales and group sales and room sales and all these different things that happen with sales and trying to get people's, for lack of a better word, rear ends in cabins on cruise ships. I taught at a place that one of my students worked for a luxury cruise line, and she was a salesperson, and selling someone a cruise that is $40,000 a week as opposed to a cruise at $1,200 a week. It's basically doing the same thing to a different audience. So again, how you make this happen, how good you are at what you do, and sales is an art form, don't get me wrong, but listen, in our industry, we're always selling. And so, the title might not be there, but the goal is there. So prepare for objections. Yeah, if you've never done sales, you're going to hear no a lot, and that's okay. Suggestive selling. And I mentioned before in one of the previous chapters that I had, trained a lot of servers and teaching them to do suggestive selling. It's not terribly difficult. A lot of them don't want to do it. It's showing the advantages of doing it for us and for them, right? Upselling, selling this, suggesting that, doing all these different things, tying it into a promotion or an advertisement that we have. Listen, we want people to come in and order this or book this kind of stay or whatever the case may be. And then, we go back and we look. That the thing about knowledge and assessing knowledge is, you're only going to be good as the tools I arm you with. So if the advertising campaign is out there and we're trying to do something specifically, you have to know what it is. Someone comes in and says, I want to talk to you about this ad I saw and you guys are running this. Huh? Not the right answer, right? And then what you do on site to merchandise all these different things, packaging, pricing, and products, cheesy t-shirts, commemorative mugs, glasses from the bar hotel, from the hotel bar, could be anything, but that ties in with what we're trying to do for promotions. So again, we've said this 1,000 times, learning who the customers are and then what moves them via advertising, right? So we look at all these different types and how we do it. The strength of the brand, if you have a certain phone, certain pair of headphones, certain hotel that you stay at, certain kind of car that you buy, certain kind of beer that you drink, certain kind of whatever it is, we want more. And we want you to be the first thought when it comes to where you're going to stay, where you're going to eat, what boat you're going to get on, whatever it's going to be. And then, again, as I said before, in the case of when we made a huge mistake on the one advertising thing, is increasing traffic, but increasing it at the right time. So, again, it's a game. It's a never-ending game. It's a never-ending battle. And then a schedule as far as promotional activities. This would have avoided, in a lot of cases, the onslaught that we had we passed out those exact same flyers and said, good for this time, not effective until this time, we could have avoided a lot of the problems that we caused for ourselves. Now, maybe the powers that be didn't think that we were going to get as much return as we did, but I would say as hindsight moving forward, if I was ever to do something like that again, which I didn't do it in the first place, I would now know, listen, let's assume that everyone's coming in at once. What happens to us if they do? And, it could be bad. So let's factor that in when we hand this stuff out. So making that schedule and knowing like, hey, by the way, this weekend coming up is the first weekend that we advertise that, one free night's room stay. So it really goes back to having it be effective is one thing, then that service and customer perception afterwards that goes into it as well. You need to make sure that you're covering your bases there. So again, concrete data, just like the example earlier on in these slides. I know how many dessert coupons I handed out, and I know how many I got back because they had to send it back in to activate the coupon. That's concrete. I can go back and look and see on a case-by-case basis what's working. Say that we did that exact same example for desserts for the month of July, and dessert sales were down, they weren't up, and no one used the coupons. We now have data. It's not the data we want, but we now know the effectiveness of that advertising campaign. And we can go from there. Personal selling, like we said, things that you can do, yes, it's going to increase revenue. And yes, it's going to increase revenue for me and for the person that, in the case, a server, a bartender, whatever it's going to be. And again, increase the objectives, who are we going for? And suggestive selling, upselling, and it's training. And, you're only as good as who trained you. And so if I come around the corner and I'm upset because I don't feel like you're using the right suggestive selling techniques, before I do something like fly off the handle and start to lose my mind, I might want to sit back and say, wait a minute, how were you trained? just like before, have an accessible goal, a measurable goal. So, good records of sales calls, and then sales performance above or below. As I said, sales, group sales, all this stuff. Sales and service person's knowledge of available products and services. So back to training, additional training if needed, and then value to the customer. So in the case of room sales, the value that the customer sees from this promotion or this advertising that you're running about rooms, worth it to them. Remember, we want to make money, but what is their perception, right? Effective on-site merchandising, again, high quality in keeping with the image of the business, yes, unless you're giving stuff away for free, right? And packaging is the key. Menu and non-menu items perceived by customers as equitable. So this advertising for the free nights room on this weekend, and you come in there and there's a complimentary champagne and chocolates. Okay, that's an example of how we can do some nice packaging and placement. So not only did you get a free room, and of course you're thinking that you really pulled one over on us, you also got a nice little bottle of champagne. So how that all ties in, and that experience that the guest gets from this thing that you're doing to try to increase revenue, increase business, increase guests, occupancy, all these big things that you need to worry about. So again, we go back to training. You can see a server doing suggestive selling there. And listen, we've all fake suggestively sold. We want real knowledge of the menu. And so these things take time. Training is continuous. If there's going to be a big advertising campaign, then you better make sure that everybody that works for you is on the same page and understands what's the goal. Not just for you as a server, bartender, front desk agent. Why are we doing this? Why is our hotel doing this? Why is our bar doing this? What is the point of this campaign? What do we expect to achieve? Clearly stated, clear communication. Don't create a divide with you and them. And you just suggestively sell. Why? Because I told you to. You've been there somewhere where if you go and a server goes, what do you guys think about this item that you're suggestively selling? Oh, it's my favorite. To me, that is code for I've never tried it. So you have to make sure that you don't do that.